Welcome to some new r/petty revenge stories, where people share their small victories over those that wronged them. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called They Lost Thousands for It. I just bought a new car and had to get it insured. Since my dad owns several properties, we thought we could get it cheaper. We called the insurance agent and gave our details and got a quote in 5 minutes, but it was getting late and thought, let's do this tomorrow. Tomorrow came and we were very busy during that week, so we pinned a date to do it. But during that week I started shopping around for another insurance option and I found a comparable one for around 5% more. But then, that is when the calls started. I started getting more and more phone calls from the first agency telling me to sign the insurance. This was not your average marketing call. I'm getting about 40 to 50 calls a day, from which I'm constantly blocking numbers. Worst of all, my dad was getting the exact same calls. We had enough. We talked to our agent and he assured us it would be over, but it didn't. My dad got so angry that he completely switched all of his insurance to a new provider. Because he owns several properties, this came to about 10 to 12k a year, also including my brand new car insurance. The next story is called Shouldn't Be So Rude. Back in the 90s, our landline phone number was 1 digit different from an auto repair workshop. I would frequently get calls from customers misdialing, looking for this repairer. No big deal, I just let them know, easy mistake, maybe have a laugh. But it was starting to become a bit of a pain. One day I got a call from a lady. I said hello. The first thing out of her mouth was, "Is my car ready yet? I've been waiting all day and I have important things to do." This irritated me instantly with her rude attitude. So thinking quickly, I asked her for her name and said I'll go find out. After a few minutes I picked up the phone again. I informed her that I had just spoken to the manager and he told me that after a good bit of haggling he managed to get 2k for the car, and if she could come down this afternoon he would have the cash for her. This, as you can imagine, went down like a lead balloon. She lost the plot big time, saying it was only in for repairs, calling us thieves and threatening to call the police, and she would have us all arrested if her car wasn't there when she come to collect it when the taxi dropped her off. I said sorry, but it's not here. It was taken about an hour ago, and if she wanted to come down and have a chat to the manager, she was quite welcome to. Sorry, I have to go, we are very busy, and hung up. I've always felt a little guilty for that poor manager, but would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when she turned up. The third story is called Walmart Plus. I'm trying to get my husband a PS5 for Christmas. I'm not as savvy as many other people out there when it comes to technology, so I'm not having much luck. I tried to get one from Walmart, but the notification said the releases are for Walmart Plus only. I now realize this is a ploy to get people to join, but I figured I would have some luck at least. Wanting to be a good wife, I joined and have now wasted about 12 hours of my life waiting in virtual lines that just eventually disappear. And I'm out $98. Now I know Walmart doesn't really care about my petty revenge, so this is really more for my peace of mind. The only benefit I see from Walmart Plus is that they offer free shipping on any order, instead of $5.99 for orders under $35. So I've been using this to my benefit. When I'm at the store and I see an item I think I can get cheaper at Walmart, I look on my app and if it's cheaper, I order it. I'm talking a can of beans, but I do it one at a time. So they have to ship a can of beans to me for free. And then the next day, maybe it's a jar of spices. That way I'm going to save the $98 through comparison shopping for the next year. And then they have to ship me those items for free. Again, I know they don't give a flying fig, but it gives me a little satisfaction. The next story is called Where Were You? So I used to work for a supermarket delivering people's shopping. 2 of my shifts fell into the evening. Both shifts were 7 PM to 11 PM and there were barely any deliveries between 10 PM and 11 PM, if any at all. The manager of our department just used to let us go at 10 PM unpaid, or you could hang around and do odd jobs like tidying up, etc. And then the new store manager showed up. What I can only assume was in an attempt to stamp some authority down, he ordered anyone who was back from their deliveries early was made to work in the main part of the supermarket. Now a lot of the guys working on the evening deliveries were older gents on part-time, just waiting for retirement, who didn't want to be out dealing with the general public. So a plan was made, a very simple plan. Just don't get back to the store until 10:45. By the time all the van unloading was done, it was 11 and time to go. So most days there were about 10 drivers just sitting in vans for 1 or 2 hours getting paid to sit around. Now, these vans did have cameras and such, but they could not be accessed by anyone in the store. It could only be accessed by people out of the store if there was an accident, for insurance stuff. All of this set the store manager off. On the evenings he was in, he'd wait and ask where we were when we got back. And we could basically say anything and he couldn't disprove it. One of my favorite encounters went like this. Your van was due back at 9:45. Why are you back an hour late? Traffic. Where was this traffic? Can't remember. You expect me to believe you got stuck in traffic for an hour at 9 PM at night? Nope. And with that the driver walks off. This nonsense went on for about 3 months before he caved and we went back to the old system. Our department manager eventually told us this was because the cost of our department went up by around £2,000 a month in wages after we stopped going home early, and his boss wondered why. The fifth story is called A New Rule. I work in janitorial at a factory, and unfortunately this means that people tend to be jerks because they see me as someone below them. Well, I take pride in doing my job well, and my bosses say I'm one of their best. For the last few months though, some lady at the factory I cleaned for, let's call her Jane, keeps complaining about every little thing to my bosses, whether it's true or not. Well, recently she's been lying to my bosses and saying I don't ever clean the ladies' room, despite the fact that literally anyone could tell that I have, since it would be disgusting otherwise. I know the factory doesn't allow restroom breaks very often, so I always let the women use the bathroom even if I'm actively cleaning it to be nice. I mean, who wants to hold it for several hours? Well, because Jane complained enough, a new rule was put in place that means I now can't let anyone into the bathroom as I clean it until I've finished. Jane is notorious for overusing her time in the bathroom to skip out on work, so needless to say there have been a few times she'd start leaving her area to use the bathroom. Given how thoughtful Jane has been about making sure I do my job properly, I've taken to make sure to always been cleaning the ladies' room in the break room whenever she needs it. The first time was the best, so let me share that with you. I came out of the bathroom that I'm cleaning to grab some more of my supplies, only to find Jane there waiting. Jane is frowning like usual. Hey, could I use the bathroom? I really have to go and the other bathroom is under maintenance right now. I put on my best fake apologetic smile and shake my head. I'm sorry, but I can't let anyone into the bathroom until I'm fully finished cleaning it. I'd say you could wait, but I wouldn't want you to get into trouble for standing around doing nothing. Jane scolded at me. It won't take long. Can't you just move the sign for now? Once again, I shake my head as I gather up the supplies I need. No can do. I have a schedule to stick to and can't go against company rules. I wouldn't want anyone to think I'm not doing my job correctly after all. Jane was getting angry at this point, but I couldn't care less. I pushed open the bathroom door and gave her one more so apologetic smile before heading in. I'll try and hurry so you can use it soon, but there's only so much I can do. Sorry, Jane. Then I ran into the bathroom and took the longest time I could to clean it. By the time I came out again, Jane was gone and I couldn't have felt happier. I knew she'd have to wait who knows how long until the next bathroom break, and the thought of that makes me grin so much. I still do it whenever I can, and there's absolutely nothing she can do in retaliation either, besides giving me the stink eye. The next story is called Mr. Oh So Important. I'm a utility worker and have been for 25 years. This incident happened about 12 years ago. We got called out to carry out a small repair straight after working a 10-hour shift, so as we were unable to go home to eat, we grabbed some food on the way to the job site. We arrived on site and started carrying out a visual risk assessment and checking the other utility plans on the laptop while eating our food. Mr. Oh So Important comes out to tell me to get to work and that I'm not paid to sit around. Having dealt with idiots like this for years, I completely ignore him and carry on with the laptop checks and filled out the relevant work order. It is compulsory before starting any work, as it's a log of all the relevant information, i.e. what time you accepted the job, what time you arrived on site, did you check the plans, etc. Unbeknown to me, Mr. Oh So Important had called to our office to say that we have been on site for over an hour and we are sitting around having a picnic in the work van. Bear in mind that we only received the job 40 minutes prior to this and traveled 15 miles to get there, so it's physically impossible for us to have been enjoying our picnic for an hour. Anyway, we complete the job and head home. Get called into the manager's office the following day to ask what had gone on and to inform us that we had a customer complaint against us. My only response was to tell him to check the vehicle tracker and the laptop log and he'd have all his questions answered. He called a few hours later to say that he suspected it was BS, and the log proved that when Mr. Oh So Important said we were having a picnic, that I was in fact working. Now to the sweet revenge. Approximately 2 weeks later, we have a job on the very same street, replacing the old steel water mains with new plastic pipes. As part of this work, we have to cut off supply for maybe an hour or two, but we always let her drop the customers to say that their supply may be interrupted between the hours of 9 AM and 5 PM. Needless to say, Mr. Oh So Important had his supply cut off at exactly 9 AM and restored at 4:59 PM. He came out multiple times asking when it would be back on. My reply each time was, did you not get a letter about the supply interruption? The rest of his neighbors were off for about 35 minutes maybe. Mr. Oh So Important got the full 8 hours for being a prick. The last story is called, Why Would You Do That? Back in the late 90s, when house phones were still a thing, our phone kept ringing in the middle of the night after we moved to a new house and had to get a new telephone number. Unfortunately, I didn't have caller ID. This went on for months. I was always too sleepy and incoherent to ask for an explanation before the calling party hung up. Finally, one night there were 2 calls and I was still awake for the second call, so I answered in a businesslike fashion rather than with a sleepy hello. The person on the other end was in a hurry to get in touch with someone other than me. But at least when I said, you have to tell me why people keep calling, they said it's in the main directory before they hung up. Main directory? There was a large employer near me. So I found their main number, dialed it and listened to the nighttime recording. It was a long list. For blah blah blah, call XYZ or something like that. Anyway, it was now 3:30 AM and I was wide awake. This was during the brief moment when the web, home phones and phone books coexisted. So I got on the web, found out the name of the CEO of the company, found him on the phone book, got on the phone and called him and woke him up. After I explained the situation, he mumbled something like, couldn't you call our security and have them fix it? Well, I'm sure all of your wonderful employees who ever called me took it upon themselves to try to do that immediately, after they realized that an error in your directory was causing them to rake up random strangers. It seems unlikely your security would listen to me if they won't even listen to your own people. Well, could you call my office in the morning? Sure, what's the number? So I chatted with the secretary a few hours later and she said she would fix it. But of course that night I tested it again and it was still broken. So I called the secretary back the next morning and factually explained that it wasn't fixed yet and that every single time I got called in the middle of the night, her boss would as well. She was dumb enough to ask, why on earth would you do that? But also she was smart enough to realize that she had been adequately warned that her name would probably come up in any subsequent 3 AM conversations between me and her boss. And she was resourceful enough to get it fixed post-haste. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. And I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.